Every neighborhood has one house the kids whisper about. Ours belonged to a man named Fletcher. Quiet, pale, always seen only behind his blinds. Every October, without fail, he turned on a single red porch light. Not orange, not warm, but a deep blood-colored glow that made the entire street feel colder. Parents told their children to avoid that side of the sidewalk. Kids crossed the street to pass it. But for 10 years, no one ever knocked on his door. Until this Halloween. A group of teenagers decided they were too old to be scared of a stupid red light. They dared each other to go knock. Phones out, flashlights on, laughing too loudly because they were trying not to be afraid. One of them, Jason, insisted it was just an old man with weird taste in bulbs. So he marched up the walkway and knocked. The red light flickered. The door opened, and someone stepped out. Not the frail old man everyone remembered, but a tall, thin figure in a black suit, wearing a mask so tight it looked like it was stretching his skin underneath. The mask had painted on eyes that didn't blink, and a fixed smile too wide to be human. The teenagers froze. The figure leaned forward, tilting its head at an unnatural angle, like it was studying them. Then it beckoned them inside with a slow, jerking hand. That was enough. They ran. The neighbors said they heard them scream 2 streets over. The next morning, everything changed. Every house on the street now had a red porch light glowing. Every single house, including homes owned by elderly couples, strict families, and even one that had been vacant for months. People tried to unscrew the bulbs, but when they did, the red glow came back seconds later. Then the sightings began. At night, residents reported seeing a thin man in a black suit standing perfectly still beneath the red lights. No matter where you lived on the street, whenever you looked out your window, he was already staring back, motionless, head tilted, smile painted too wide. Police were called. They searched every yard, every porch, every camera feed. Nothing. He appeared only when you looked at him directly. Never on video, never when someone else came to check. And always under a red porch light. Halloween night arrived. Most of the neighborhood stayed indoors. Some huddled together in candlelit living rooms. Others turned off every light in the house. But at 11:42 p.m., the red lights all began to flicker, in perfect unison, like a heartbeat. Then the knocking began, on every door. Slow, rhythmic, polite. Knock, knock, knock. No one opened, but people heard breathing outside. Soft, excited, like someone smiling too hard just inches from the wood. And then the whispering started. A dozen voices, 100, all saying the same thing. Let us in. By morning, half the red lights had turned off on their own. The other half stayed lit. The houses where the red lights stayed on, no one lives in them anymore. When police entered those homes, they found the lights still glowing. And the same mask, that tight, painted, smiling mask, lying on the floor of each house like someone had dropped it there. But the people who wore those masks, they were never found. And every Halloween since then, the red porch lights return. The thin man appears. And more lights stay on when dawn comes. This year, my house's porch light just flickered red for the first time. And someone is standing outside in my front yard, smiling, waiting, tilting his head. I didn't turn the light on. Before we move on to the next story, give us your verdict on this one. And don't forget to like and subscribe. They were driving home from the last Halloween event in town. A quiet late-night trip on a fog-coated rural road that always looked abandoned after dark. The children were asleep in the back seat, candy bags spilled across their laps. The mother was scrolling through her phone. The father hummed quietly to keep himself awake. Then the fog thickened, like a curtain dropping in front of their windshield. The father slowed down, and that's when the headlights illuminated something sitting in the middle of the road. A porcelain doll. Perfect posture, Folded hands, bright glossy curls that caught the light. It wasn't lying down or accidentally dropped. It was placed there, like a child waiting to be picked up. "What the hell?" the father muttered as he stopped the car. The family stared in silence. The doll's face was unnervingly detailed. Painted rosy cheeks, tiny parted lips, and glassy blue eyes that reflected the car lights. Its dress was old-fashioned, yellowed lace, the kind you only see in antique shops. "Somebody's prank," the father said, although his voice lacked conviction. He stepped out to move it. The air outside was colder than before, unnaturally cold, and quiet in a way that made him realize no insects were chirping, no wind was moving, nothing alive was near. He crouched beside the doll. Its eyes were closed as if peacefully sleeping. He reached out, hesitating for a moment, then touched it. Instantly, the doll's eyes snapped open. Not painted, not fake glossy plastic. Wet organic eyes, real eyes, staring directly into his. He gasped and dropped it so hard the porcelain cracked. He ran back to the car. The doors locked the second he got inside. "What happened?" the mother whispered. He didn't answer. They drove around the doll and left it there, broken in the road. No one spoke the rest of the ride home. The father opened the door to get the mail. He froze. The doll was sitting upright on the porch, completely repaired. Not a single crack anywhere. With the same folded hands and those disturbingly human eyes, it was facing the door, waiting for him. He kicked it into the yard. It landed in the grass with a soft thud. The moment he shut the door, the baby monitor in the living room crackled with static. His daughter's voice whispered through it. "She's back." When he checked the yard, the doll was gone. He didn't tell the family. They found the doll on the staircase, not at the bottom, not in the middle. At the top, sitting sideways on the carpet, head tilted slightly as if listening to the sounds inside the house. The father grabbed it, shaking now, and locked it in the garage freezer. But right before the freezer door shut, he could have sworn the doll blinked. That night at 2:13 a.m., the mother woke up to the faint sound of tapping. Tap, tap, tap. She nudged the father awake. The tapping grew louder. Tap, 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 tap. It wasn't random. It was footsteps. Small ones. On the stairs. Then something dragged slowly along the wooden hallway floor outside their bedroom. Something light. Something deliberate. The father grabbed a bat, opened the door slowly. And there at the far end of the hallway, the doll sat upright again. Dry, warm, not frozen at all. Its real eyes locked onto theirs. Something white was pinned to its dress. A piece of paper. Handwritten. In a child's uneven scrawl. "I'm not the only one." At dawn, the father drove the doll far out of town, miles away. Past farmland, past old mills, past the edge of any GPS signal. He found an abandoned quarry, overgrown with vines and rusted machinery, and tossed the doll deep into the ravine. He climbed back into his truck, sweating, shaking, wanting nothing more than to get home. He checked the back seat. Empty. He exhaled in relief and drove away. When he turned onto his street, something felt wrong. Every house was dark. Not a single porch light on. Not a single curtain open. A thick fog blanketed the lawns, clinging low to the ground. Then he saw them. At first, just silhouettes. Small ones. Then the details emerged through the fog. Dozens of dolls, sitting upright on his lawn, his porch, his driveway. Some porcelain, some handmade, some with cracked faces, some with glass eyes, some with real eyes. 30, 40, maybe more. And in front of them all sat the doll, the one from the road. She didn't move. None of them did. But all of them were facing the front door. The father ran inside, screaming for his wife and daughter. The wife rushed down the stairs, terrified. "Where's Mia?" he shouted. The mother froze. Her face went pale. "I thought she was with you." The father ran upstairs. He threw open his daughter's bedroom door. The bed was empty. The window was open, and on the pillow was a single doll, a tiny one freshly made, with Mia's real eyes stitched into its face. Beside it lay another note. "Now she's one of us." Before we move on to the next story, give us your verdict on this one. And don't forget to like and subscribe. He jogged the same route every morning, same sidewalk, same corner, same empty lot. For years, that grassy stretch of land had been nothing but weeds and a for sale sign that sun bleached into unreadability. The locals said a house had once stood there decades ago, but burned down mysteriously one Halloween night. No one rebuilt. No one bought the land. It simply existed, a quiet, unremarkable space on the edge of town. Until one Halloween morning, when Daniel jogged past the lot at dawn, he stopped so suddenly his headphones flew from his ears. The empty field wasn't empty. A large Victorian house stood in the center of the lot, tall, elegant, fully restored. Warm orange lights glowing through old glass windows, smoke drifting lazily from a stone chimney. For a moment he wondered if he'd taken a wrong turn, but the street signs were the same. The giant oak tree nearby was the same. Only the house was new, or rather old. Very old. He approached slowly. The closer he got, the more details he noticed. The porch swing rocking gently despite the still air. Candles flickering inside rooms on the upper floors. Lace curtains swaying as though someone had just walked past them. Fresh pumpkins lining the front steps. The house didn't feel abandoned. It felt lived in, alive. A sign near the steps caught his attention. "Open for visitors one day only." He hesitated, then knocked. The door opened before his knuckles touched it. A woman stood in the doorway. Tall, thin, dressed in old-fashioned clothing, and not costume old, but authentically old. Her smile was polite but strained, as though it hurt her face to hold it. "Welcome," she said. Her voice was soft, but underneath it was a tremor, like someone speaking from across a long distance. Daniel stepped inside. Warmth washed over him. The smell of cinnamon and wood smoke filled the air. The interior looked immaculate. Carved banisters, polished floors, portraits lining the walls. Too immaculate. He walked deeper into the house, and the woman closed the door behind him without a sound. Every room felt like a memory frozen in time. Tables set for dinners that would never be eaten. Chairs angled as if awaiting occupants long gone. A music box playing softly in an upstairs room even though no one had touched it. But what struck him most was the subtle vibration beneath his feet, as if the house was breathing. He tried to ignore it. As he explored, Daniel heard faint voices. He turned corners expecting to see people, other visitors maybe. But every hallway was empty. The voices continued, drifting from behind doors. Whispers, giggles, footsteps, crying. One door handle rattled violently as he passed, making him jump. "Is someone in there?" he asked. The rattling stopped instantly. Silence thickened. He backed away slowly. That's when he noticed something chilling. Every portrait on the walls, dozens of them, were of the same woman who had greeted him. Different clothing, different ages, same face. And in some portraits she wasn't alone. A figure stood behind her, tall, featureless. A silhouette in every painting, growing closer in each new portrait. He moved quickly toward the exit. But when he reached the front hallway, the woman appeared again, as if materializing from the air. "Leaving so soon?" she asked gently. Her polite smile trembled, and for the first time he saw the exhaustion beneath it. The fear. People don't stay long, she added quietly. Not anymore. Daniel swallowed hard. What is this place? The woman's smile faded. This house died a long time ago, she whispered, but it wasn't allowed to stay dead. He didn't understand until the floor beneath him pulsed again. Not a vibration, a heartbeat. The house throbbed, living, breathing, waiting. It opens once a year, she said, on the night we burned, and every time it opens, she stepped closer. Her eyes glistened with pain. Someone must stay. Daniel backed away. No, I'm leaving. You can't, she said sadly. The house has already chosen. Every door in the hallway slammed shut in unison. The candles flickered. The walls groaned like something huge was shifting inside them. He ran to the front door and pulled. It didn't budge. The wood felt warm, soft, alive. He turned around and the woman was standing inches from him. Her eyes were hollow now, her smile gone, her voice barely a whisper. Please forgive us. I don't want to be here anymore. The house shuddered, a long, deep rumble, and the floor opened beneath her. She dropped into darkness, her scream swallowed instantly. Daniel stumbled back, horrified as the darkness closed again like a mouth. The heartbeat quickened. The house wanted him. Joggers passing the lot the next day saw only empty grass. No house, no pumpkins, no candles, no people. But when one jogger spotted something near the weeds, she bent down and lifted it. An old-fashioned portrait of Daniel, standing in the hallway of a Victorian home, and behind him, a tall, featureless silhouette, with a hand resting on his shoulder. Before we move on to the next story, give us your verdict on this one. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Halloween had always been simple for me. Carve a pumpkin, light a candle, put it on the porch with the others in the neighborhood. But this year, when I came home from work on October 30th, something felt off. My pumpkin was still sitting on the porch, the one I'd carved the night before. But next to it was another pumpkin, identical in size and shape but completely uncarved. Perfectly smooth, perfectly round, almost deliberate. I asked my neighbors if they'd left it as a joke. Nobody had. So I carried it inside, set it next to the first one on the kitchen table, and forgot about it. That night, sometime after midnight, I woke up to a faint sound. Scrape. Scrape! Scrape! At first, I thought it was branches against the window, but the sound was coming from inside the house, downstairs. When I went to check, both pumpkins were sitting exactly where I left them, except the uncarved one wasn't uncarved anymore. It now had a face, and not a random Halloween face, my face. My eyes, my nose, my crooked front tooth. It was carved into the pumpkin like someone had studied me up close. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, I threw the carved pumpkin in the trash bin outside. I didn't want it in my house. I didn't even want to touch it. But when I got home from work later that day, it was back, sitting on the porch, next to a third pumpkin, also uncarved. My heart dropped. I brought the new one inside, and this time I locked it in a closet. I told myself it was nothing, just Halloween nerves. But at 2:13 a.m., I woke again. Scrape, scrape, scrape. This time it was coming from inside my hallway closet. My chest tightened. I stood there listening, sweat cold on my neck, until something inside the closet shifted. Something heavy. I opened it. Both pumpkins were inside, both carved, and the new one had another face. My face, but older, tired, gaunt, and terrified. I panicked. I took both pumpkins outside, drove them to the wooded area at the edge of town, and threw them into the trees. I didn't want to see them again. But the next morning, all three pumpkins were back on my porch, lined up neatly like decorations. And now a fourth sat beside them, uncarved, waiting. I didn't take it inside. That night I lay awake, staring at my ceiling, listening for the sound. It came at 1:48 a.m., louder this time. Scrape, 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 scrape. And it wasn't coming from the closet or the hallway. It was coming from right outside my bedroom door. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and opened the door slowly. A pumpkin was sitting right in the middle of the hallway carpet. A fresh one, still smelling of earth. Its face was carved in a wide, open-mouthed scream. But what made my blood freeze was the voice that came from inside it. My own voice, whispering, "You're running out of time." The next morning, people in my neighborhood found pumpkins on their porches too, all identical to mine, all carved with their faces, all in that same screaming expression. By evening, the news reported it happening in several nearby towns. Dozens of identical pumpkins appearing, dozens of faces carved into them, dozens of people hearing scraping and knocks at their doors. No one knows where the pumpkins come from. No one knows who carves them, or why they show the future, or why tonight, Halloween night, there are 5 new pumpkins waiting on my porch instead of 1. Each one carved with a different expression of my face. Fear, pain, shock, agony, and the last one, a face I haven't made yet, but I know I will. Because right now, as I write this, I hear footsteps on my porch, slow, dragging, and that same whisper outside my door. It's time. Before we move on to the next story, give us your verdict on this one. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It began the week before Halloween. A single mask appeared at Emily's living room window. An old wooden mask with hollow eye sockets and a thin, carved grin that stretched too wide for any human face. At first, she thought it was a decoration from the neighbor kids. She ignored it. But the next night, the mask appeared again, in the exact same spot, pressed against the glass, staring inside, not hanging, not taped, simply there, as if someone outside was holding it at eye level. Except no one was there, and the mask never moved. Emily tried to convince herself it wasn't a big deal. She lived alone with her daughter, Lily, and didn't want to scare her. But around 11 p.m., while doing dishes, she felt something. A presence. She turned toward the window, and there it was again. The same mask, the same hollow eyes, the same unnatural grin. This time her blood ran cold, because the mask was fogging the glass, as though someone behind it was breathing. She yanked the curtain shut and locked the window, though she knew a lock meant nothing against something like this. She barely slept. By the third night, the mask appeared in different windows, the kitchen, the hallway, even the bathroom window while she was brushing her teeth. But it never appeared on the cameras. Motion detection stayed at 0. Every time she looked directly at the mask, it was there. But recorded footage showed only empty darkness outside. She didn't call the police because, how do you explain something that appears only when looked at directly? She considered moving, but Lily's school, her work, her life, everything was rooted here. She told herself it would stop after Halloween. Stories always stop after Halloween. They don't. On October 30th, things changed. Emily came home from work to find Lily sitting stiffly on the couch, staring at the window. The mask was there again. Emily tried to stay calm and gently closed the curtains. "Sweetheart, it's nothing, just a stupid prank." Lily didn't blink. "It's not a prank," she whispered. "It talked to me." Emily's heartbeat surged. "What do you mean, talk to you?" Lily's voice was small, trembling. "It said it's waiting for the right face." Halloween arrived with an unnatural chill. Emily decided they would spend the evening at her sister's house. She packed bags, grabbed keys, ready to leave. But when she opened the front door, The mask was sitting on the porch, directly at her feet. No doll, no pumpkin, no figure holding it. Just the mask, as if it had been placed down gently seconds before. She slammed the door and backed away. From every window behind her, she heard tapping. Slow, synchronized tapping. Tap, 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 all around the house. As she turned toward the living room, the curtains began to move, not from wind, but from fingers pressing against the fabric from the outside. She grabbed her daughter, ran to the bedroom, locked the door, and called 911. The line rang, and then a voice answered, but not the operator, not human. A slow whispering voice, a smile inside a voice. You already know we're inside. The call ended. Footsteps began in the hallway, but they weren't heavy. They were light, soft, measured, like someone wearing no shoes, or something gliding. The door handle twitched. Emily pushed her dresser against it, trembling uncontrollably. The footsteps stopped. Silence bloomed. Then she heard it. A whisper from inside the room. Not behind the door. Inside. It finally fits, the voice said. She spun around, grabbing Lily. But Lily was staring toward the corner, her eyes wide, her voice shaking. Mom, look. The mask lay on the floor next to her bed. No longer wooden, no longer still. It was changing. The hollow eyes were filling in. The wooden grin was softening. The features were shifting, reshaping, smoothing. Into a face, Emily's face. A perfect, lifelike copy of her. The mask whispered again as it finished forming. I told you I was waiting for the right one. Emily backed away slowly, but Lily screamed, Mom! The mask rose from the floor, not lifted by hands, but floating, twisting in the air, turning toward Emily like a predator locking onto prey. Then it shot forward. She barely had time to cover her face before it latched onto her, sealing itself like wet skin. She clawed at it, tried to pull it off, but it fused to her, sinking into her flesh. Her screams grew muffled, then silent. When Lily looked up, Emily was standing perfectly still, not moving, not breathing, smiling a smile that wasn't hers. A mask that had found a home. By morning, neighbors noticed Emily standing motionless in her window, just staring, smiling, too wide. Her daughter was never seen again. And every year on Halloween night, people report seeing a woman with a wooden face and a carved smile peering through windows, looking for someone else whose face fits. If you made it this far, thank you for spending your night with us. If these stories gave you chills, there's plenty more waiting. Don't forget to subscribe to NightFear Stories for new terrifying tales every single night. Sleep well, if you can.